Cyclone Nation, what better way to kick off the 2025 college football season than cheering on your Cyclones in the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland? Whether it's a quick trip to Dublin for the game, a multi-city adventure throughout the Irish countryside, or premium game day hospitality, there is a package for you. Visit cyclones2ireland.com for information on official travel and hospitality packages. That's Cyclones, the number 2, Ireland.com.
Welcome in to another victory edition of Kickin' It. I'm Jeff Woody. I'm here with Grant Mahoney and Aiden Wyatt back behind the computer. We are, as always, brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing, and also Kelderman Manufacturing, synonymous sort of here with agriculture, because they just do big, heavy machinery stuff in the state of Iowa. That's where most of the big, heavy machinery stuff is. So if you need anything done towards that big, heavy machinery, Kelderman.com. Also, harvest season. I imagine that we're still in harvest season. Probably will be for the next 2 or 3 weeks. If you're in a tractor or a combine right now, we can't do a 15-hour episode, but we could, just to keep the time going a little bit better.
We can't do a 15-hour episode.
We could do a 15-hour episode. No bathroom breaks. You sit at your microphone until we're done.
Miles Davis peed his pants.
Really?
I don't know. And then line from Big Daddy.
That's Billy Madison.
Whatever.
If peeing your pants cool, consider me Miles Davis.
I thought it was Big Daddy.
Nope.
No, they pee on a wall in Big Daddy.
A lot of pee.
A lot of pee in Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah,
Crazy world, a lot of smells.
Iowa State, that was a good old-fashioned ass whooping. I mean, I would say it got a little dicey early, but when we were talking ahead of time, I don't remember. I think it was Rob Gray and Connor in the press box. They were asking, "Oh, what do you think?" Just kind of like casual conversation. And I was like, "Well, Iowa State's better, and if Iowa State plays their B game and Baylor plays their B game, Iowa State wins." In the first quarter and a half-ish, Iowa State played a B game. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't good. Baylor played an absolute knockout A game. Great. And then they kind of came back to earth a little bit, and Iowa State brought their GPA up a little bit, and then it just went. I mean, it was 40-7 after Baylor scored to go up 14-3. It was 40-7 for the rest of the game.
Yeah, once Baylor's pre-written script they had coming into the game ended, they actually had to make adjustments in coach. Sorry, and then the punt got blocked. The punter got absolutely obliterated. He flipped. He got crushed.
Because this is Kicking It. We talk about special teams quite a bit here. I feel like also due to our talking about the operation, long snappers have had a lot more heat on them. I feel like the long snapper needs to buy that punter like dinner or something as an apology,
or at least ice for his ankle or
just
his knee,
something. Maybe pay for a trip to CVS to go through the first aid aisle after that, because he skipped that thing twice back there. And if you're a punter against an Iowa State team, your clock is already fast. And
you see that thing coming in low, and you're thinking, oh shit. Kaboom!
Miles Mendezoon, who they bring in on pass rushing situations. He's not small. Like Mendezoon, I don't know what the roster says, but I bet he's 6'2", 6'3", probably 250. Like, he's not a small person, and he is screaming off the edge.
Also, we did not punt at all, which is great.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
That was, I think I heard
football.
on Williams and Bloom maybe that it was the first time not punting since the Louisiana Monroe game when they dropped 70 in 2018, 2019, whatever it was. So Iowa State just whoops the shit out of Baylor. I think that's really how it went. And one thing that I don't necessarily want to say dispel anything, and I don't want to say well, I told you so. That's not this, but a lot of the conversation with, so every morning I coach at the gym, and there's maybe it's called 50 people that come into the morning classes, and they're all kind of talk about it, and they were like, "Oh, I was really nervous in that first quarter." And I don't want to say this is an arrogant thing. I wasn't, because so we did some math ahead of time, just because back in the pre Kickin' It days, the show that I did on Cyclone Fanatic was football and random things, aka fart. And one of the common themes on fart,
rest in peace,
fart. Fart dissipated.
Yep.
Just drifted into the wind.
R.I.P. and peace to fart.
But that on that show, we would always bring up, because it was true, the professor's gambit. And I don't think Haycock likes to be called the professor. I think he doesn't. It's not a term that he really appreciates, but he is so much smarter and further ahead than every coordinator that he plays, that what they do, because what the professor's gambit is to the non-fart crowd, the crowd that's just jumping on Kicking It, which, thank you, appreciate it. Complete side tangent. I get so many compliments of saying, love the show. And then it was like, keep Mahoney in line. Like, that's basically the two comments that go side by side. But anyway.
No one can keep me in line.
I can't, except that squirrel from
No, the squirrel cannot.
He
listened to the other day, but I think he listened to the podcast because he wasn't talking shit at all this week.
Yeah, settle down.
I stepped outside and looked around for him because I was going to record a video and send it to you guys.
Do you call him Black Nuts? Like Blackbeard?
No, I don't know. I don't have a name for him
just
because
Mark
his
the
days are
squirrel.
numbered. Yeah, so once he's dead, I'm going to bury him.
Just put 2 acorns on his little grave.
Chop off his nuts and examine those things. What the hell we got going on here?
Oh boy. Hope you're listening with your kids. So the professor's gambit, what that is. So Iowa State plays the 3-3-5. We all know that, but there are very few teams that also run the 3-3-5, and even fewer that do it in the same way that Iowa State does. So when you're watching film to try and get a common opponent to say like, okay, Iowa State play. So I think West Virginia runs somewhat. I guess I haven't watched West Virginia, so we're going to rely on statistics. But I remember when we were playing them, West Virginia ran a 3-3 stack. So if they're running a 3-3 stack on defense, we need to then find somebody else, sort of, kind of, that runs an offense that we do, kind of, how does West Virginia react to a team when they have 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers and running back? What do they line up so we can see it? So with the way that Iowa State runs their 3-3-5, there's not a lot of common opponents that you're going to see that do it the way that Iowa State does. So you kind of don't know how a team is going to attack you. So what Iowa State tends to do, and I don't think this is like on purpose, they're not like, all right, we're going to run base defense every single down, because they don't do that. But they have a very malleable game plan coming into the game. They know that it's going to change 3 drives in, because you mentioned the scripted thing. Most teams script their first 10, 12, 15 plays, and they kind of adjust. If you're in 3rd and 14, you don't have a 3rd and 14 scripted play, but you have those scripted plays, and that's going to give you a lot of information, because what those scripted plays are meant to do, they're trying to see, all right, we're going to line up with 3 receivers to the short side of the field, 1 tight end to the big part of the field, and we're going to see how they line up. Then we're going to motion somebody. That's who moves, and now we can use that information to build it on later. So they're trying to extract a lot of information. The reason they're doing that is because they want to force you into something. But what Haycock does is just rope-a-dopes every single time, and no one ever adjusts. So you're going to show those 15 scripted plays, which is basically, here is the skeleton of how we want to attack you. And Haycock goes, okay, I see you want to do A, B, and C. Well, we're going to take away A and B, and you're going to have to do C, D, and E. And if you can beat us with your C, D, and E game plan, you can beat us. Congratulations. But most teams can't. So in the first quarter, Iowa State's down 14-3. Aiden, we did some math earlier. Can you read off the statistics? This is not first quarter, second quarter. This is first half Iowa State's scoring margin and second half Iowa State scoring margin. Mind you, in the first half against Arkansas State, Iowa State was up 31-0. And that skews the statistics a little bit. But
because the backups played
most of the second half.
Yeah.
So just to play it safe, I'm going to read all the games, first half, second half.
Okay.
So North Dakota was 14-3 at half. Iowa State wins the second half 7-0. Arkansas State, like you said, 31-0 at half. Second half, 21-7. Iowa State was down 13-0 at half, won the second half 20-6. Houston 3-0 at half, 17-0 in the second half. And Baylor 19-14 in the first half and 24-7 in the second half. That's a grand total of the first halves. Iowa State has a lead of 68-30.
Which is, again, 38
31.
points, 31 of those coming in Arkansas State. So it's more or less even on everybody if you throw Arkansas State out.
Yep. And then the second half, it's 89-20.
89-20 scoring margin in the second half.
So that's 7 points against Arkansas State.
Which is one garbage time touchdown with 3 minutes left.
6 points against Iowa.
Which they scored a touchdown, tried to go for 2, didn't get it.
And 7 points to Baylor.
Which was on a 4th down busted play.
It.
And that's
it.
In that busted play, 41, I forget the guy's name, the linebacker whiffed on a blitz, completely unblocked. Ryland Barnes could have got a sack, and that would have kept it down to 2 touchdowns, 2 scoring plays of any kind.
Damn it, Ryland.
In the second half. Ryland, he did pretty well, but
He did. I had to look up who is this kid?
But the whole point on this is Iowa State, once they see what you want to do, they will then adjust to take away that thing. And if you can make a check to that check, awesome. We got ourselves a game. But if you can't make a check to that check with now Iowa State having an offense as potent as it is, you have to have a lead or really good coaches in order to keep up with Haycock and that defense. The professor's gambit works all the time, and people still don't catch on.
Yeah, and it's, Baylor's just, I've said it before, it's like a boa constrictor, just kind of slowly strengthening and tightening its grip. And then second half, yeah, you're done for. And Baylor looked good to start. And then, once that punt got blocked, that was kind of the turning of the tide. And then once Jontez Williams got the interception, it's over.
And so what Baylor wanted to do on that scripted plays, like kind of the first...
I will say, too, I don't think Iowa State really blitzed it all either. Like, Baylor's quarterback had a lot of time to throw. And just go ahead, throw it. Like, our D-backs are good.
Mm-hmm. And you're without Miles Purchase, who between...
Darian Porter,
who he's arguably your best cover corner. I mean, Tez Williams is really good, but I would say Darian Porter is, at this point, your coverage guy. Like, you don't throw at him.
And I would expect for him to be back. I don't know what he did. I know he did go through warm-ups, and coaches were like, we'll shut you down for this game. So I think he probably will be back for West Virginia, but I don't know how serious it is. We will know more today. So Tuesday when it comes out, what Campbell says, assuming.
Again, let's take Campbell for...
Day to day. Darian Porter's ankle is gone.
Meanwhile, he's a game time decision. Coach, he doesn't have an elbow. It's gone.
Coach, we saw Darian Porter with a wooden peg leg. Day to day.
But what Baylor wanted to do in the first half without Darian Porter, and so I don't think they game planned in knowing that Darian Porter was going to be on there. But if they're going to try and formation someone to the wide side of the field, so they get a one-on-one with whoever that is. They would take chances on Tez Williams. They tried it 3 times in a row or 2-3 times in a row on that first touchdown.
Yep.
They tried to fade ball. So they wanted to get one-on-ones against the Iowa State corners.
When I saw that, I was like, keep going at him. He's good.
Throw it 3.
Yeah.
But they felt that they had an advantage wide receiver to corner. That's where they felt their advantage was. And they formationed Iowa State into a way that got them those things. Thank you, says John Haycock. Now I know what you want to do. You want to formation me into one-on-ones. Let's just take our safeties a little bit wider. Let's take 4 and 7 with Cooper and Verdun. Let's take them a little bit wider so nothing's a true one-on-one. And if you did try and throw this fade ball, you're going to have to do it in really contested coverage because that allows the corner to play tighter. So now you have a harder release and you have a safety that's going to be over the top to help. How do you counter that check? Run the ball. Baylor had 19 rushing yards in the fourth quarter.
It's not good.
It's not good. It's not going to work. So it's one of those things. It's I see what you want to do. We're going to take that away. Can you beat us with your next best option? And they just couldn't. And so when you're watching an Iowa State game, whether it's this one or all the rest of them, don't let the first quarter be an indicator of your feelings for the rest of the game. If by the middle of the third quarter, things haven't changed on defense, then that opposing team has done a really good job of checking the check. But so far, there hasn't been anyone this year that's made a unreasonable enough response to Haycock's changes. And that, to me, that is the greatest asset that this defense has, is the fact that they can just take those adjustments, understand what to do with them, and then blank the other team.
I thought this was a really complimentary football game too. All phases, offense, defense, special teams, all played well. We have given the long and short snappers some flack. I thought they had a great game, great snaps. The one PAT that Conradi missed, looks like he just brought his hips through too quick. Had to let the fans know I'm human, okay? Can't be perfect all the time. I can let him slide away with one. I missed one time in my career.
What?
Yeah, just a couple. I will say too that the offense I don't think the offense has been fully cohesive, fully what we expect it to be. And when I say that, I mean that Jalen Travis and Dylan Bohr and Hazard, they weren't healthy to start the year. And I think Hazard and Bohr will rotate in, but I think Jalen Travis is going to be the left tackle. He had a great game. Also,
is 61? Is that Bohr?
It's Barrett. Dylan Barrett. That's what
he had his best game.
He did, and he played well. So him and him and Jalen Travis on the outside there is on the left side that's a good combo to have. I'll say too, I think we found a running game. I think Jalen Jackson had his best game of his career, not even at Iowa State, of his career. He's never had a 100-yard rushing game before.
Well, he's a slot receiver before. Like, he was just a gadget guy.
No shit.
At Eastern Michigan, he was just a, the guy,
a Jarvis West.
But they were just trying to find ways to get him the ball. I couldn't agree more. Aiden and I were sitting next to each other watching that one, and it was like there are so many cuts that he would make, and like you can't help but just go, that's RB1
in a phone booth. I mean, the touchdown he had, it wasn't as linear. It was straight right, straight left, like kind of zigzagging. And then, oh God, that cut that he had on the guy to score was so nasty. I'm going
the
this
one
way.
step.
Pow! Yeah,
that one cut.
And that guy just, you could see him. I pooped my pants and go ahead, score.
I thought it was kind of funny. I don't know if you guys watched back the broadcast or anything, but it was one of those runs where the broadcaster kind of loses their broadcaster voice.
Professionalism.
Like Tim Brown just went, whoa.
Well, and he goes, Jalen Jackson, you're special.
Yeah, what do you say to that?
He's tough to tackle on
He's
his phone.
5'7", $160, $170.
And man, his feet are so quick. And then you got Hansen, who's kind of the bigger back that not going to blow you away with his speed, but he'll find his gap and go. And then Abu, I know he's been dinged up a little bit, and he's going to get a shot too. Don't sleep on Abu too. We've got those two running backs had a strong game, but Abu is he was our home run hitter guy last year. I'll say too that Steve-O is out versus Houston. He played like 15, 17 snaps this game.
And it was mostly in the second half.
Yes, he is like huge for this offense. And Rocco was dinged up last game. We saw that with the tape. And I saw an on-field interview after the game where, the guy asked him about how'd you play, blah, blah. I feel like you had a good game. I felt like that was Rocco's maybe his best game this year. He wasn't sailing the ball. He didn't have shoulder tape on. And he told that guy after the game who was interviewing him that he's like, I really got with the trainers this week and they got my shoulder right. I'm back to 100%. So something was going on. So I'm just really, I'm pumping everyone full of rainbows and sunshine right now that I think our offense is just starting to find its groove. And if everyone can stay healthy with Steve-O, with Rocco staying healthy, our offensive line unit is playing well. I think for the best that they have played yet this year. And then Higgins, dog. Bramer, dog. Noel, dog. So Jackson, dog. I mean, we just got dogs out there. So I think the offense is just starting to click at the right time. And we've already been battle tested in a tough environment in Iowa. Morgantown, they're doing like a coal rush or something where everyone's gonna be in black. West Virginia's gonna be in black. Iowa State may bust out the Stormtrooper ones again. I doubt it. They'll probably have some pop of color on there, but I'm guessing they'll be.
Wear those helmets again.
Those are sweet,
clean.
I like those. Yeah.
I don't care what other thing you just wear the helmets.
I'm not like
the script.
I'm not anti-block I State, but I want to lean in like this sweatshirt. Like this is my favorite logo.
That's the one that's like from the set. It says vintage 84, but I think that's the brand. But like the one that was, we already looked this up in the summer.
Yeah. This one, but I guess what I'm saying is I want to
the tornado with the scripts.
I want to lean into the vintage logos more, especially with this being the 50th year in Jack Trice Stadium. Lean into it more. So I think we will see one more vintage game from Iowa State where they maybe wear a throwback uniform. Maybe not. I hope
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
With the offense itself, I think the reason why Jackson and Hansen have looked so much better this year than Sama, I guess I would say so much better, more consistent this year, especially in the last 3 games, is there's a real coordination that happens between the offensive line and the running backs. And last year, there was a little bit more chaos in that Iowa State's offensive line with Clanton, they're just going to hit somebody. They were most of the time going to be in the right spot, but they're going to hit somebody.
It was also Clanton's first year last year. So.
Right. But Sama, his eyes aren't as clean as Jackson and Hansen.
Which comes with time.
And also kind of there's an intuitive understanding that like in high school, he didn't have to. Like he had Caden Proctor. Like, here's the ball, run behind him, go. And you're just more athletic than everybody. And now he's kind of had to start developing that. And why he was so good last year, especially towards the end of the year, is because that just physicality of just go hit somebody. Sama thrives in that chaos situation because then it's one-on-one with the defender somewhere. and you're not going to get him one-on-one. He is the best forced missed tackle guy that Iowa State has by a mile. And Jalen Knowles on the team as well. But no one can get Sama on the ground if he gets to the right spot. But the difference between last year's offensive line and this year's offensive line is the precision that's matched that aggression. And that's why they've run for 200 yards 3 straight games. And I think they ran the ball for 6.5 or 6.8 a carry on Saturday. And when you have a coordinated, precise offensive line, there are spots that you need to be at very specific times. And Jackson and Hansen see, understand, and trust that better than Sama does. So on the big plays that Sama can hit, he is the best home run hitter that Iowa State has. He just doesn't give himself the space. He makes easy plays hard. The hard plays, he makes. Jackson and Hansen make the easy plays easy, and they make the hard plays easier. So that's why Hansen, on that big long run that he had, he barely got touched because there was a distinct gap. I'm going to run right between Travis and Barrett, right there. And you have to get there at a very specific time because the combination blocks rely on angles. And that's the thing that right now Sama doesn't have, but is a teachable, learnable thing. And there will be games where a defense might muddy stuff up. They might blitz a zillion different people. They might run stunts and trades and stuff. And then that becomes chaos. You want Abu Sama in those chaos moments. But the thing that I think they're realizing is, depending on the game flow, you need a different guy. And the way that Iowa State's offensive line in these last 3, aside from that big run by Sama against Houston, is when you're executing and you're just that much better than a defense, you want Jackson and Hansen in there because they'll hit it at the right moment in the right spot. And I think that's why the offense feels more efficient when they're in there. And that's, to me, why you want Jackson as the RB1 and Hansen as your kind of curveball or fastball changeup, and then Sama as your curveball, where you're trying to get, you want the strikeout, go for it. I think on 3rd and 4th and shorts, you're much less likely to see Sama in there, despite the fact that he is the strongest of the bunch, because he doesn't hit it. That's the most time and a place at a very specific moment, and Hansen does that better. So I think as the season's gone on, we've kind of learned what the strengths and weaknesses of each of those backs are. And now when you add that offensive line and Jalen Travis, man, everyone here between now and Saturday, if you enjoy watching, go rewatch that game, but just watch 72. Don't watch anybody else. Just watch the left tackle mauling people.
He's a dude.
And when he's not mauling people, he's so freaking big that he'll just wall somebody off. Like, he'll get up to a linebacker and just stand there, and the running back goes right behind him. The defender can't get around him because he's so damn big. So, Jalen Travis, it is not a coincidence that his first game that he played the majority of the snaps was Arkansas State. Since he has been inserted in the lineup, Iowa State's averaged 6.5 a carry, 5.2, 5.5, whatever is somewhere north of that.
And I don't think it's a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence. 72 makes a huge difference in the run game. And then having an idea and a kind of a personality in what each one of the running backs is good at, it makes this offense, it clicks a lot better, because you can operate on script with Jackson and Hansen, and you can operate off script with Sama, and then Rocco's just there to facilitate all of it. This offense, I agree, there is another gear or two that they've yet to find, but man, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we played all 3 running backs as early as we did throughout all the games, because, 1, they're staying healthy, but 2, you've got different dimensions, different guys. And, I think Jackson earned, the RB1 spot for next week. He deserves to start because he is the hot hand right now, and he's dynamic. But again, I don't ever expect, at least this year, I don't expect Jackson to have 20 carries and then Hansen and Abu to have 2. I think it's going to be more like a 12, 10, 8.
Yeah, and it's going to be the guy who's the guy. It's sort of you can kind of take it like the 3 guards on the basketball team.
Yeah.
Depending on who's guarding Lipsy and how the game flow is, if they're really aggressive towards the point guard, Taman's probably taking 5 shots that game. But then he's going to get it to Gilbert and Jiggy, and okay, they're going to take a lot more shots that game because that's the way the game flow goes. But then the next team sags off of Taman because they want to prevent against the 3-pointers of Jones and whatever, and then Taman takes 12 shots that game. That's kind of how this running back committee is depending on the game flow, how the game is going to be blocked and called by the defense. that's the guy that's going to take the snaps.
I'm just glad that our running back room doesn't have any kind of dinguses in there, though.
What are you talking about?
Hey, they were there.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
They were at the game.
The Irish, don't be a dingus. Book with Aer Lingus, the Aer Lingus College Football Classic up in Dublin. I got to listen to that accent for like 15 minutes.
Were you rock hard or no?
I was standing behind a garbage can for a reason. I'm just gonna.
Because you're about to puke or what?
Nope. It was just it's the only shelter that I could have from the like chest down. But the Aer Lingus College Football Classic folks were at the game, and they got to kind of tour around the tailgating spot. And they're asking the kind of the reporter Scrum was there, and I don't remember who asked the question, but they're kind of asking a few questions about like, oh, how did this come to be, and how did they?
That's not how they talked.
No, reporters were asking.
Oh, shoot.
How did this come to be, and how do you choose the teams, and they were talking about it. But then one of the reporters asked, so how do you like the tailgating atmosphere? Oh, it was incredible. The tailgating atmosphere is incredible. And I was like, they just went in just maybe a 3-minute just monologue about how great the tailgating was. And they're like, it's like Gaelic football. And you got kids just tossing around the stones outside the stadium. And I'm like, I just want to hear you talk for another 20 minutes.
Tossing around the stones. Is that what it's called?
I don't remember. I'm probably screwing up the parlance, but they were talking. There was someone from the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. There was someone from Aer Lingus, the actual airline. And I had to fight the urge to tell her, like, ma'am, we've got another slogan, but I want to trademark this before you actually take it and run with it, because I think this is going to be a worldwide global hit. I didn't hold it because I just want to make sure we protect the idea so they can't just steal it. And then there was someone from the actual government of Ireland, kind of the representative, the tourism liaison. So all three of those folks, and just accents are beautiful. So cyclones2ireland.com. You can listen to that accent for yourself by everyone in Ireland if you go next year.
Yeah, I don't think I'll go. I may. I think it should be a fun game though.
I'm excited to go. I want
a fun
to.
Time too.
It's a great time.
Yeah, because on the website too. I mean, they've got different packages. If you want like a whatever kind of day package, or if you want like a golfing package, or kind of travel package,
or like tour around the country with a car or whatever.
Yeah. Really cool site.
Yeah. And
a lot to do too. I mean, obviously, but
yeah, but they were talking about how they really want to push that game because the tourism dollars that it brings in, and it kind of strengthens Aer Lingus's relationship to U.S. airports that they normally don't have access to. And the main thing, and they said this, and like I'm just shout out to Iowa State fans. One of the things they mentioned as to why Iowa State and Kansas State were selected, because they are sort of siblings in this, is that they travel so well. So all those trips you made to San Antonio and Memphis and Phoenix and Orlando, those were noticed by the people making the choices, which teams to bring over. And they said, Kansas State, Iowa State, you guys tend to bring a lot of people. You know what a lot of people do? Spend money. They buy their Guinness. They go to hotels. They go to restaurants. They rent cars. So Iowa State was chosen in no small part because of how well fans travel. So again, you get Matt Campbell here because he said he was walking around the tailgate environment and just saw how much passion there was because of the fans. You have all these recruits come because you go to a game at Jack Trice or go to a game at Hilton because of the fans. And now Iowa State's able to go to Ireland because of the fans. So take a little time, pat yourself in the back for making these things like this happen.
And they knew that Iowa State, obviously, and Kansas State are rivals. So
they actually called it Farmageddon.
Yeah, and Kansas State's got
Farmageddon.
Kansas State's got a bunch of dinguses over there.
Farmageddon. We're not going to be a dingus.
No, those Kansas State Wildcats are a bunch of dinguses. So
a big game for them this weekend.
Who they got?
They're at Colorado.
Good. Hope they lose.
I don't know if that's the case.
Fuck them.
This is like the biggest weekend. I mean, I know it's the first year of this new era of Big 12, but it's a big weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, biggest weekend of the Big 12 in a long time.
Because there's a lot of top matchups.
Yeah.
Because Utah is at Arizona State and may or may not have Cam Rising. So that's sneaky.
They're not going to, because the spread right now is 3 or 4.
Well, I mean, you could release that and it changes the things and whatever, but I'm guessing they won't have him. Mm-hmm. But let's say they don't. I mean, either way. So they have to go to Arizona State, who's kind of spicy. Kansas State is at Colorado, and Iowa State at West Virginia. And then who's at Arizona?
BYU? Arizona goes to BYU.
Arizona's at BYU. So you have like 5 substantial, meaningful games.
And Cincinnati at
So,
UCF,
Utah at Arizona State, that's on Friday. Cincinnati at UCF, that's a game that is inverted a lot in the last 3 weeks as far as the favorites. Arizona at BYU, Iowa State at West Virginia, and Kansas State at Colorado. There's a lot going on there. And Texas Tech, they're off this week.
Night games. My God, Utah and Arizona State kicks off at 9:30.
And Colorado,
Good
Kansas State at
old
Colorado.
fashioned Big 12 after dark.
Big 12 after dark. If it's anything like the last Big 12 after darks that we've had, wild.
And look at all these Big 12 storied rivalries: Utah, Arizona State, Cincinnati, UCF, Arizona, BYU. Just some classic Big 12 games.
I will say Kansas State, Colorado.
That's a big
good
8 game.
That's a big 8 game. That's good to have back on.
I do want to say one thing. So if fans are going to watch other games, Arizona BYU, they kick off at 3 o'clock. That's the game before Iowa State on Fox. Take note of Arizona's kicker. This guy has the strongest leg I've ever seen. And like I know I'm like a kicker nerd, and like I love that stuff. This guy puts his kickoffs like 12 yards out of the back of the end zone.
You showed us a clip. You showed Aiden and I a clip before.
The camera didn't pan far enough. Like, and
It hit the band.
The band is like 5 or 6 yards behind the back of the end zone, and you couldn't tell. Like the football was still in the upper right corner of the screen as they panned into the end zone. So that ball was minimally the height of the upright as it was going by. Minimally.
On the first watch, we all collectively went, "Where did that land?"
Where did the ball go?
Yeah.
yeah, I watched one of his kicks like in week 3. I want to say it's when he had a 50-some yarder, and it crossed like at the top of the upright. And I thought, okay, this has got to have wind at the back. And then I went back and watched it. The flags and the uprights weren't moving. I was like, holy shit, who is this kid? Huge leg. Like the ball explodes off his
Like
foot.
if he kicked at Norman or in Norman at OU, he would kick it into the stands every time on a kickoff.
He was. I was watching the Texas Tech game at Arizona, and he was putting it into the stands. He was putting the ball through the uprights on a kickoff from the 35.
Oh man, kicker
I-
palooza.
Like I could watch this kid all day.
Just kickoffs.
Yeah.
And then just ignore the offense defense afterwards.
Yeah, just so smooth and fluid, and I was impressed. Okay. Anyways, on to West Virginia.
On to West Virginia. We still got it. We got to thank some people.
Purchase more bacon, ham and bacon.
Purchase more ham and bacon. Purchase more bacon, ham and bacon.
Yeah, that's their new ad. And Hammond made a return.
Hey,
Him.
Hammond himself.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they said this is our lad. The newest ad is, fellas, this is our lad. It's purchase more, and then it was the Hammond, just like the
cardboard cutout.
and then bacon. I'm assuming they recorded this before the season because bacon was like jumping around at the end of it. Maybe not though. And then I don't know who it is that like has the clip where they go, "Guys, this is our last introduction." Aiden's got it pulled up here. We can take a watch.
Believe it or not, guys, this is our last tryout. And here's Logan Bacon.
Acting. God's a premium.
Because
Love
you
it.
can never have too much bacon.
Ooh. I mean, we do want people to purchase bacon.
Purchase more bacon. Purchase more double bacon.
Purchase more bacon, ham and bacon. I like it. I mean, I love it.
A wink from Love It.
I do too.
Hammond makes his return. Good job, Hammond. Purchase more bacon, ham and bacon.
I'm not sure where Hammond's at
The
now.
Iowa Pork
Hopefully he's getting
Association.
some kind of cut for that.
I'm sure he is. Even if you leave, you gotta get a cut. That's only fair.
Oh, and like the jerseys aren't technically Iowa State jerseys. I don't think. Like they just kind of made
No,
them.
you can't. I mean, you got to license that, and there's just red and yellow jerseys.
Yeah,
That's a whole deal.
yeah.
You know what we didn't get to before?
Hidden yardage.
Hidden yardage.
You're going down this week, Aiden.
Yeah, right, pal.
And I do have to throw out a caveat. So we talked about this last year, but it hasn't happened until this past week. One thing, and this is more of a me statistic than an actual like hidden yardage statistic, is if you have a defensive touchdown and hidden yardage is, so let's say I get a touchback, I'm 25 yards away from the start of my own end zone. So I have 75 yards to gain before I'm in the end zone. If you get a defensive touchdown, then you just add 100 yards of hidden yardage to that total because that eliminates an
Excuse
entire
my
drive.
answer.
So if you're starting at the 0 yard line with an extra point, then that's 100 yards of hidden yardage that you don't need to gain that you otherwise would have if they gave you possession at wherever it was. So a defensive touchdown is an automatic 100 on top of your hidden yardage, or whomever to your total of hidden yardage. So that is, it's not counted in the drive chart, but any defensive touchdown, any non-offensive touchdown for me will count that as a hidden yardage because that's a special teams defensive setup. Anyway, with that being said, Aiden, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Iowa State plus 160.
Hey, Grant?
Iowa State way more than that. I'm going to go Iowa State plus 189.
109.
God damn it, Aiden.
There was 2 drives.
Wait, so how? So aside from that block punt, it was only 9 yards?
There was one. The Iowa State started in the 50 on that when they did the simulated firing gesture. That they didn't necessarily say that, but the Baylor guys catch the touchdown, shoots the gun, the imaginary gun into the crowd. Well, then they get that unsportsmanlike, which pushes everything back 15 yards. So when he kicks it out of bounds, you're kicking it off from 15 yards back. That moves the penalty. That's why they started at the 50. For those that weren't sure why they got that there.
Then he kicked it out of bounds like a dingus.
Yeah, so you moved it back. Don't want to be a dingus.
I don't know. He kicked it out of bounds.
But you kick it, you start back at the 20, not the 35, which then if you kick it out of bounds, if you didn't also enforce that penalty, you just kick it right out of bounds the entire way, put it on the 35, and it's a 15-yard penalty, no harm, no foul. But when it goes out of bounds, after the ball has been moved for an unsportsmanlike penalty, you then add that 15 yards of starting position backwards because it's measured from where the kick is. So that ball started on the 50. Outside of that, Iowa State's nearest starting field position, I think, was the 30. So all the rest of them, that Baylor punter, when he gets a snap, can hammer it into the wind. So otherwise, it would have been 9 yards. It would have been basically a push after that point, other than the fact that Iowa State had a blocked kick that went for a touchdown.
I'm terrible at this game.
Really, it's not that hard to calculate.
Did you ever play special teams or anything?
I didn't know. Yeah. I'm just going to start doing like the prices. The
$1 Bob.
The price is right. Yeah.
$1 Bob.
Aiden's going to say 160. I'm going to say 159, Jeff.
Just a horseshoes and hand grenade thing.
Yep. So you're 5-0 now, Aiden. You're about.
Are we actually keeping track on this?
Yeah, he's 5-0.
He's 5-0.
You're going to finish the season 5-7 though, buddy.
Hey.
Yeah, okay.
Nerds. So yeah, moving on to the West Virginia Mountaineers.
Riot Bros.
This actually, I think West Virginia, did you ever get to play there?
Nope.
It's fun. It's a fun stadium.
Well, their stadium was built, the same people who built Jack Trice built Milan Puskar. I'm not sure how I pronounce that.
I think it's, is it Milan Puskar?
I think it's Milan Momcilovic.
Milan Momcilovic.
Momcilovic. It's close enough. Puskar? I think Milan Puskar.
Puskarlovic, yes.
Puskarlovic. Milan Momcilovic.
So it looks, I've never been. Sometime I thought about going, but then it's also like, we got to fly into here and then drive an hour. So maybe not.
It's a pretty drive. So like if you're considering going, you either fly into Pittsburgh or Charleston, West Virginia, and then it's about an hour and a half from both. But there's no straight roads in that state because everything is through the mountains.
Oh,
so,
my wife would hate that.
And you're going in the middle of October into a place that is all trees and mountains.
Hassel would love that. He would have an absolute hard erection. He just went to
the foliage.
Oh God, he just leaf peeps hard.
I mean, can I be team leaf peeps there?
Talk to him about it.
I love the foliage too.
Yeah.
Big foliage guy.
Big foliage guy.
Did you guys ever like rake leaves and then jump into like the pile of leaves?
And then you're itchy for a while, but it's fun.
Yeah.
As an adult, I haven't done it.
What?
Because I think my mass would like, it would just mush the leaves too much and there's not enough cushion. And it would just go like on the ground, which doesn't seem like a super fun thing.
Live a little.
But yeah, it's a really pretty drive and the stadium's really fun. They get there. I don't know if like what their rules are, but we only played out there once and we had my last college football game was at that stadium and we had like a 27-point comeback or something like that and won.
Sick.
I think won in like triple overtime. But they would get there early. They're all wearing like coonskin caps. They sell beer in the stadium and it's in West Virginia. They are pissed the entire time. Not angry, just.
Do they take their teeth out or leave them in when they drink beer?
I imagine they leave them in.
Boom, roasted.
Anyway,
it
was funny because they would get there early enough, like for warm-ups, and there was just a contingent like near the student section, and they're all wearing coonskin caps and whatever. And I'm at this point almost purely a blocking back that like I would get like 3 carries a game, and it's all in 3rd and 1. And I ate myself into that role. So I was a solid like 255 probably and most in the love handles. So I'm this like fat white guy that is it's like James White, fast little black guy. And then it's Jarvis West, fast little black guy. And then Chantrell, fast little black guy. And then there's me, like pudgy white guy. And so every time, and we would start one in the end zone, you'd run up on the hash, and then the quarterbacks would kind of warm up and throw fade balls, and then you're on the sideline and throw fade balls. Every time that I was up and the quarterback would start to throw, they'd go like, ah, and then I would catch it and they would just lose it. And then I would just wave back to the crowd and they would juice up even more the next time. So they were like, by the time in warm-up lines, I'm catching a pass, they're just celebrating like crazy. So that's the environment of that stadium. It's not really hostile. It's just like, we are here to party and it's going to be a good time.
We're here, we're in ears, and we party.
It's a fun place.
I remember that 2013.
Maybe 2013. Yeah.
I was on a plane back because it was like Thanksgiving weekend or something, I think.
It might have been the week after. I don't remember.
But anyway, I remember I was on a plane back from Arizona and we get on the plane. It was 31-7. And my dad looked at me and he goes, "We're going to go 2-10 this year. That sucks." And then we get off the plane and it was 44-41 or whatever the final was after however many overtimes. So shout out to you. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty nice little surprise once we got off.
That was pretty cool. I think Jeremiah got either Jaquez, Dion, or Jeremiah. I don't remember. They were all involved in the play that sealed it because it was an interception on a 2-point conversion that you had to make or whatever it was in overtime once you got through 2 overtimes. But anyway,
Shout out Coach Broom.
it was a fun place to be. So if you do get the chance to go, I would. But raucous environment at night.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, they're doing like a blackout, not like alcoholic, but like a rush, like everyone's gonna be in black. West Virginians have their all black uniforms. We weren't black uniforms for.
Did you see these rat bastards are having a drone show too?
No, you asshole!
You crossed the line.
What if it's the same company and
That would be kind of hilarious.
you're just like, we didn't get this one up. Hey, I got a drone show for you. Yeah, it's brand new. You never been used. Do you want a drone show?
It's already been paid for.
Bad beat for the clones.
That was it was windy on that one.
Dan McCartney was in town.
I know. I was
He
hoping.
must have been sitting in the soup cup.
I was hoping we would see it. That's okay though. Fireworks.
No, he would
were
have been
cool.
sitting in the Jacobson because it was blowing hard towards the soup cup.
Fireworks were cool. So on to West Virginia, they just thumped Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State's bad.
They
man.
are bad, and that's like that. That's why I'm so. I don't know. Like this game to me is a prove it game. Where Iowa State, are you legit? Is your defense got exposed quick versus Baylor, and then gave up the most points that they've given up yet this year. Yes, right outside of North Dakota, 21 points.
Yeah, I mean 21. That's the high water mark.
Yeah. So I think they're 20.
It's outside of Iowa.
Yeah. So, defense got exposed just a smidge. West Virginia, they are good. I'm not saying they're bad. They like to run the ball though. So Garrett Green is their quarterback. He's a true dual threat quarterback. It's good that Iowa State's played, 2 or 3 dual threat quarterbacks in Arkansas State, Houston,
And North Dakota.
I'm not sure I can even count Houston
And Baylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can count Houston's quarterbacks as like being, I don't know what they stunk. Like they couldn't throw the ball, they couldn't run the ball. So what did you do? So it's good they've had that. This will be the biggest test for them though. He'll run the ball 10 times a game. He had like 86 yards last game, which is a lot for a quarterback. He's quick too. He's a good athlete. He did get dinged up in the first quarter versus Oklahoma State, but came back in, just landed weird on his shoulder. It was a scramble and then got tackled on his shoulder. They got a little lefty guy that comes in who's not bad either, but they like to run the ball. They've got, they got 2 guys. They're running backs. One guy is a bigger dude. Let me see. I got their names written down here.
Well, I mean, while you're talking about though, West Virginia pounds Oklahoma State, and that's indicative, I think, of both teams because West Virginia they've had 2 losses, and one was kind of the nationally televised week 1 game against Penn State. Penn State's really good.
Their 2 losses are to Penn State and Pitt, both undefeated.
Yeah, and so they're good losses that they're playing, and they play a physical style of football that you have to match that physicality. Also, Oklahoma State to this point hasn't. They're the worst defense in the conference by a long shot,
and they are 130 out of 133 in the country on defense.
So, and that's total yards in rushing. If you kind of rank them 1 to 16, Oklahoma State is dead last in rushing in the conference. Now, granted, you give up 360 or whatever it was yards to West Virginia. It kind of throws that statistic off a little bit.
But I went back and looked. They've given up like anywhere from like 160 to that. It's usually around like 200, 250 a game. So like Oklahoma State's rush defense is bad.
They're giving up 235 yards a game across their entire season.
Yep.
The next worst, so that's 16th. The next worst is TCU giving up 180. Like they're 55 yards worse in run defense than TCU. And
who just lost to Houston
and got boat raced by SMU. Like Iowa State, for what it's worth, is at 138 yards. It's not their best, but they also like this. To me, this game is going to feel like a more competent offense for that, like Iowa, but more competent in a passing game.
Well, you think too, like the teams that Iowa State have played, they haven't had no one's really, aside from Baylor, no one's had a good quarterback, so they've had to run the ball. So like that's why the defensive stats are kind of skewed. They don't want to throw the ball because they can't. Like you've got quarterbacks that can't throw the ball, but then also
Iowa State, if we're talking about like best defenses, best pass defenses, Iowa State's only giving about 130 a game. The next best, the second place is actually TCU. And TCU they just give up so many yards rushing, but TCU 155. Iowa State's the best pass defense in the conference by a lot. And West Virginia and Oklahoma State is the worst run defense by a lot. So this is going to be a weird juxtaposition for them.
Where'd you say Iowa State is rush defense?
Rush defense, kind of middle of the pack, about, I don't know, like 7th or 8th.
Because they're going to want to rush the ball. Their quarterback is only completing 58% of his passes. He's a good quarterback. He's a good athlete, but they want to run the ball. Jaheim White is their like main guy. He's a smaller back. He's 5'7", 195. Jalen Jackson is listed at 5'7", might be a little generous, 180. And then they've also got a bigger back, C.J. Donaldson, who is 6'2", 238. Carson Hansen, 6'2", 220. So they kind of have a similar ground attack as Iowa State.
So my understanding, again, I didn't watch the Oklahoma State game. I watched the Penn State game and then watched the Pitt game. And then the Kansas game kind of like highlights in and out for West Virginia. So my take on this is it's going to be Iowa's offense, but that can throw better.
Sure.
But their defense is nowhere near Iowa's defense. Now, granted, they just got beat. They just gave up 35 to Ohio State, but Iowa's offense was awful in that game. But West Virginia is going to need that rush offense to keep Iowa State off the field. So you're going to look for them I would imagine they're going to go for it on fourth down a lot more early because they know they have physicality and they have to keep that physicality. And if you're looking at this Iowa State team, if you're Neil Brown, game planning generally against Iowa State, you want your offense on the field as much as you possibly can because that offense, there's nowhere on the field is safe because you can throw it down the field to Higgins, Knoll, and Bramer. You can throw it underneath to Higgins, Knoll, and Bramer, and then everybody else that's underneath there. And then you can also run the ball now. Iowa State, again, they've run the ball for 200 plus the last 3 games. There's nowhere that's really safe. So you don't want to get into a position where you give Iowa State more possessions than they need to. So I would guess that West Virginia is going to be extremely aggressive in going for it on fourth and mediums, and they're going to run the ball a ton at Iowa State.
Well, there's only 2 teams in the country that have gone for it on third down or on fourth down more than West Virginia. They're 12 of 16 on the year going for it on fourth down.
Through 5 games? And they've gone through it 16 times?
Yeah, which is pretty good. Iowa State is up there too, but they're not as many times. The number 1 team?
Who?
Baylor.
Well, yeah, they went for it a bunch on fourth down. 2 of their touchdowns came on fourth downs, so that's fun.
One thing that stood out to me too is that Iowa State is the 5th least penalized team in the country. Guess where West Virginia is?
Not down there.
3rd least.
Really?
Yep.
West Virginia.
Yep. So this is gonna be a clean game.
What if it's just like 12 penalties on one side and 9 penalties on the other side?
You know what? I'll tell you what. Those refs really tried to screw Iowa State versus Baylor quick. They tried to get them. Not going to let it happen though.
The only thing that I thought, which I really don't like bitching about officials.
I know,
especially when you win by 22 points.
Oh, I'm going to.
Don't no.
Should have been 32.
Iowa State also missed an extra point and threw an interception in the red zone. So that's not the refs' fault.
Blame it on the refs.
But the only thing that made those pass interference penalties so frustrating is that there was a contact earlier. I don't remember if it was Higgins or Knoll or somebody else. It was kind of on the north end zone side that there looked like there was early contact and they didn't call it. And then they called like 5 of them on Miles Purchase, but there wasn't other opportunities to call pass interference against Iowa State or against Baylor while defending Iowa State. And then the other one that I thought was that people were all worked up about was the targeting rule, which you can dislike it, but you also kind of got to take it because this is a letter of the law, spirit of the law thing. If you want the officials having to also decide and inject their perception of intent on a player, then that call can get wiped off because he very clearly was not trying to hit head to head. He was going for the ball.
Yeah.
But a defender with the crown at the top of his head, hitting the top of the head of a defenseless offensive player, even if the defender is also kind of defenseless, is almost always going to be a targeting call. Like by the letter of the law, that was targeting. And if you take that out, then you start having a ton of targeting calls because you have to intent or you wipe off a bunch of targeting calls, or the shot to Rocco's helmet that got the additional 4 or 5 yards on that big pass down to Noel that was a roughing the passer. Well, he didn't mean to hit him in the head, so intent wasn't there. Let's wipe that penalty off. Like you start opening a huge Pandora's box when you start adding intent into something. So I don't think it was as poorly officiated as people are saying. I just the thing that made people mad is the fact that Iowa State wasn't getting holding and pass interference calls at the rate that Baylor was, but there wasn't that many opportunities to do that. And Iowa State whooped the shit out of them. And I don't think they I don't know how many penalties were called in the second half, but if you're going to be a referee or an umpire, they had a consistent strike zone. Like if 2 inches below the strike zone in baseball is a strike, but it's a strike for everybody, then it takes me 2 innings to figure out where that is. And now I can just play inside of the zone that you're telling me there is. The hard ones are when that's 2 inches below for one team and then 2 inches above the zone for another team. And you just mix it around. To me, by the time the game got going and settled in like middle of the second quarter on, once Iowa State kind of figured out what they were doing, not a lot to bitch about other than the targeting call.
I just want to grab. I haven't grabbed in a while. Hadn't had a
Grant Scripes.
Hadn't had one in a few weeks.
Grant Scripes.
I just feel like the targeting. Was it? I can't remember who it was. Even
19.
Yeah. His head was turned. Like he was going for the ball clearly. Like he wasn't trying to like. Oh, I see you're going down. Pop!
Yeah.
That's my thing. Which obviously I know. You said intent. I just we need guys that are going to be healthy. We're playing 7th string, 5th string linebacker. I don't know what's going on with Sadowski if he's hurt. Or if he's gonna be able to go. I think Brazina should be good. I think they kind of want to hold him out because the game was already it was never really in question.
Well, hopefully, anything soft tissue becomes because whether it was a cramp or whether it was like a tweaked a soft calf, hamstring, something like that. Those can linger longer than you want. So I wouldn't necessarily. I'm guessing that's what it was. I would imagine if that is one of those things, he'll dress, but they might play him more sparingly depending on how much need there is for him. But I think you were asking the question too, and I just feel like it's a fair question, which is why if Sadowski and Lovett, let's assume that they're healthy between Sadowski and Lovett, why are they not playing at the Mike position and
C-ball tackle?
So it's a totally different position when the reads are different, your rules are different. So like the equivalent is if you were to switch and take someone from playing third base in baseball to playing first base in baseball, like it's still still a corner infielder, but
I went from playing center field to playing pitcher. It's not that hard.
I'm a pitcher. Yeah. Little league?
No, high school.
Oh, sure. How many games did you guys win?
We were pretty good.
No,
I stopped playing as a freshman, but Kellen Sweeney, who was a 8th grader at the time, went on to play professional ball for a couple of times. Struck him out through a complete game in the Krandick playoffs.
Had a baby.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's snark. You're meaner than I meant. I'm sorry. That was meaner.
That's okay. I had 2 home runs in my career.
Good for you.
Both off the same guy.
Aiden, do you have any home runs?
No, I had a lot better luck outrunning ground balls than I did fly balls, so that was kind of my game.
Speedy, quick, efficient.
That was me too.
Slap hitter in baseball.
I was a
Anyway,
not a power guy.
But switching from Will to Mike linebackers, like going from third base to first base. Weak side, strong side. Mike and Sam, rather than saying strong side linebacker, middle linebacker, and Will weak side linebacker, you just call them Mike, Will, and Sam. So
Three Stooges.
Most linebackers are pretty smart.
Yeah, you're right. Continue.
But anyway, going from Will to Mike is like going from third base to first base because it's still corner infield. It's still ish the same position and that you're fielding it kind of differently, but the first baseman is much more responsible for a guy on base. So it changes how you can play defense. You can't just like stand there and go like, oh, this guy's a pull hitter, I'm going to slide towards the line. Well, this guy's a pull hitter, but there's also a guy on first and you have to hold him on first. And like the way you attack the ball is different. So you can make that switch. It's not impossible or improbable to make that switch, but you need a couple reps to figure out what it feels like and what it looks like to go from one position to the other. So going from Will to Mike, your reads are different, your eyes are different. And if you're kind of habituated, because you don't have time to think, if you're habituated to the reads of the Will and you then play Mike, your default settings are to do what the Will does, which is going to put you in the wrong spot. So like I imagine with this week, and let's say the Iowa State linebackers are still banged up through this next bye week, you're probably going to see a little bit of shuffling because you'd have multiple weeks to then practice that third base to first base switch from Will to Mike if there are more healthy Wills than Mikes. The Sam linebacker would be like going from first base to left field. Like it's a very different position and very different space that you're operating in. So the Sam linebackers are much less likely to move in. That's where Mike Rose played. Then the Will and the Mike can trade a little bit closer.
Well, I hope that, of the linebackers we've got Brzezina and Ebel. I hope if those two are healthy.
And Ellis.
Yeah.
Ellis is playing well.
He is. So I think if we can have those three guys, I think I think 41, I can't remember, Rylan Barnes, is his name?
Yeah.
He played fine. He played fine for, probably not expecting to really play this year.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he played fine. I think if we can get, Ellis, Brzezina, and Ebel, if we have those three, I like Iowa State's chances a lot better because Green is a mobile guy. The D-backs are going to cover up the receivers. They don't have any receivers that really scare me, but when things break down, Green's going to run. And so if we have, no offense to Rylan, if we have one of those three guys in there, though, I'd prefer to have one of those three in there because they will have a better chance of stopping Green. But also another guy that we haven't really even talked about at all this year because he's been hurt is Drew Sturgis. I don't know what's going on with him. So hopefully he's healthier sooner than later. One big thing that I do want to talk about that I think will be the deciding factor in the game will be turnovers. So Iowa State on the year, we've recovered 3 fumbles and gotten 8 picks to just 4 picks thrown, which is top 6 in the country. So we have a +7 margin. West Virginia has only recovered 2 fumbles and gotten 3 picks, but they have fumbled 3 times and thrown 5 picks. So they are at a -3 margin.
That's huge.
Yes.
And that's the kind of the winning in the margins thing.
Yes.
That's Iowa State's MO is that when you get to a position where they have a lead, they don't give the ball back. So you have a difficult time. You have to force stops, and then Perkins or Gilbert's going to or punt it and put you inside of a hard territory, and you got to go against that defense for a long field again.
I also think that West Virginia beating Oklahoma State is a little bit of a fool's gold, and I hope that West Virginia has a little bit of false confidence because, one, I don't think Oklahoma State's that good. I think, like we kind of I talked about last year, I think that a lot of balls bounce their way similar to West Virginia, and Oklahoma State's coming crashing down to earth. I looked a little bit on the West Virginia message boards a little bit, and their fans are really like, in the Neil Brown era, we've never gone from like a big blowout, great win, and backed up on a second game. We've always had a letdown game. So, 1, I'm not sure that Oklahoma State's that good. 2, West Virginia was coming off a bye, so they had more time to plan for West Virginia. With that being said, this game still scares me a little bit.
The two things, and I think we're already an hour in, but so for farmers, that I said we're doing a 15-hour episode, 14 hours left.
This is part one. Part
1. No bathroom breaks.
Nope.
But the two things that come to mind on this one are that this is a game for the safeties, specifically because even if the linebackers are air quotes healthy, there's not a lot of them. There's not as much depth as they're playing.
Yep.
Between Freeler, Verdun, and Cooper and Patton. I was going to say Patterson, but Patton.
Cam Smith.
And Cam Smith. Those guys, they're going to have to play a lot more downhill in the box. To me, that's a Freeler Verdun game. Those two guys are going to have a lot to say about this game because
you called it in Iowa and Verdun had a good game.
Verdun had a great game. And so you're going to have to tackle Green. And a lot of times the run fits are designed to fill gaps, but the quarterback is a +1 and he can run pretty much anywhere else. So a lot of times the safeties become tacklers and the quarterback. Garrett Green likes to run a lot and is going to be able to break a lot of those outside. So the safeties are going to be big. I think the other thing that this Iowa State defense has done a really good job of doing from game one to now, tackling has gotten substantially better. And that's going to be a big component of this game because, again, having not watched Oklahoma State, but my dad watched it and he's recovering from ankle surgery and he was watching for like 3 hours and I got a text randomly out of the blue and he goes, watching West Virginia, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's tackling sucks. Randomly out of the blue. Thanks, Dad. But Iowa State's tackling has been really good. This running game, based on what I've seen so far, is built to sort of get you in a one-on-one situation, block everybody up. We know we can't block that safety. Can that safety get you on the ground? Or we're going to run the wide receiver up to the safety and leave the corner. Can the corner get you on the ground? Stuff like that. If you miss that tackle, pops out the gate. If Iowa State is able to tackle soundly and the safeties are able to fit in the run game, then this West Virginia offense is going to be slow sledding. And if they do that, I trust Iowa State's offense against West Virginia's defense to force Green into a throwing position, and that's where you want him. If Iowa State gets up by 14, because of how explosive they are in the running game, it's not quite enough, but you get up 17, if it's a 2.5 score, kind of like a 16-ish where you got to get 2-point conversions, if it's 16 or more in the middle of the third quarter on, and they have to start throwing, Iowa State can absolutely chokehold that game. But that's kind of where you're going to have to put them is tackle in space, have the safeties have a big game. And to me, I feel comfortable because the offense should be able to move the ball against West Virginia.
Yeah, and I hate night games. I hated night games as an athlete.
You're in a hotel that you can't leave for like 10 hours.
I took naps on naps on naps.
James White would bring his game console. I think it was like a PlayStation. We just play video games or watch college football for like legit like 7 hours, and it was just fine. It's quote fun, but like you do that 6 times in a row, you're like, oh, okay, I've seen enough of a Hilton Garden Inn for a while.
Yeah, there was one time we were playing at Oklahoma. I think I might have even told the story on the podcast already. That
was it Embassy Suites?
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Not the one where the kids were talking shit to us. Little I don't know, AAU team there. Might have been the same day. Anyways. Guyer was taking a nap with his head like on the opposite side of the bed. And, like he was watching a game and must have fallen asleep. And I took a shower in the middle of the afternoon because we had 18 hours to kill. And out of the shower, just in my boxers, and to wake him up, I jumped on his bed. Like I jumped and my butt bounced next to his head, farted near his head, and then came down. And then I realized I just sharted. so I had to toss my undies and. I went to that game free ball and just in our travel shorts and travel pants. But Zach's like, that's what you get for like farting on my head. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're so right. But the West Virginia game, I think Iowa State's only a 3-point favorite. But I think we kill these guys. They're good. It's a prove it game, but I think Iowa State wins like 38-21, 24, something like that. I think the offense is clicking. Rocco's dad is getting inducted in the West Virginia Hall of Fame at halftime. He's going to have a bunch of family members there. I think this is the game we come out fast, quick, and it's the most complete game. I hope I don't jinx us.
This to me, this is going to. I have a hard time saying this is what's going to happen.
I don't.
Yeah,
because Mauser listens. Mauser, let's start early, start fast. Let's score in our first 2 possessions, touchdowns, please.
The way this game. The first quarter, even if Iowa State starts fast offensively, West Virginia will also start fast defense or their offense.
Sure.
So like, I don't think this game is going to it's not going to be Arkansas State where Iowa State gets just up, bang, bang, or North Dakota where it's 14-0 before you blink. This game feels like it's going to be in the middle of the second quarter. If you start seeing West Virginia have 3-and-outs or turnovers, Iowa State, to me, feels like they can then pull away. So this is sort of Baylor-esque, but I think West Virginia's offense is more able to run the ball and throw off of it than Baylor. Baylor just couldn't run the ball.
Yeah.
So it feels like this game, from the big period of this, is like around halftime, between like halfway through the second, halfway through the third. If Iowa State wins that middle quarter of the game, then they win this. They can win this game comfortably. If they don't, and they're trailing, Iowa State can throw their way back into a game. We saw it against Iowa. They can throw their way back into a game, no problems. But you shouldn't have to against a team that can run the ball as well as they can and throw off of it. So it's not like Iowa where you punt it back to him with 1 minute and 30 seconds left and you're like, hey, ain't throwing the ball. They would. And Green can do that and he can run. So it's not a game you want to start fighting uphill. So to me, it's like in the middle of third quarter, if Iowa State has a lead, they take that lead and make it from like 17-14 to be like 38-20, like that kind of spread. But if Iowa State's not able to separate in the middle of that period and it's a fist fight, then it's going to be a fist fight all the way down.
Yeah, I'm confident that, West Virginia wants to run, and Haycock and the defense adjusted to maybe the second best running back in the country, and slowed him down enough in the second half. So I think if they start to have some, kind of success on the ground game, that Haycock will adjust as he does always. So,
but this will be a fun one, big one, great. I think it's gonna be a great environment, great atmosphere.
Yeah, they're gonna be fired up. I mean, there's a lot of excitement from the West Virginia side because of the blackout, the night game. They're wearing their black jerseys, but also excitement from Rocco's family, which Rocco's the head of the snake. So a lot of emotions on both sides.
This will be fun. I'm excited. I mean, this is if Baylor was sort of, I mean, they're a tough test, but they're not the toughest test. If that was sort of like,
they weren't as good as I thought they were going to be
on a roller coaster, how there's like
yeah,
and then there's like the period where you're
the
sort
monster.
of,
You ever in the Monster at Adventureland?
Yeah, I grew up in Altoona. I would go there like,
yeah, but it's new. The Monster's newer.
Oh, I was the Dragon. Sorry, I was thinking Dragon.
Yeah,
I have heard of the Monster.
Rest in peace, Dragon's
Rest
gone.
in peace, Dragon. That thing should be gone.
The Dragon Slayer is there now, and it sucks. I don't like it.
That's the one that flips you around the red
Oh
one.
god, it sucks.
Like
my
flip flips.
Yeah, my brain was rattled. My brain bounced on the inside of my head. I'm done.
Yeah, that's what they replaced the Dragon with that. Anyway, but like as you're going up, like then there's a moment where you're on top of the first drop. Iowa State is right there right now. So like Baylor and West Virginia, or Baylor more specifically, is that team where like we're not going fast downhill yet, but we're about to be. And that feels like West Virginia is the start of this going downhill fast, because it's West Virginia, UCF, which UCF at home, depending on what happens, if they get beat this week, then it might be a nice little reprieve and a little uphill on the next little bit. But then you get Texas Tech, Kansas, who knows what Kansas is going to be by then. And then you close out with your big ones with Utah and Kansas State. So like this is the first game where you're screaming down the hill.
Cincy in there somewhere too.
But yeah, who cares? I'm kidding.
They're better.
I know. I'm kidding.
Ties to fight. It might be a better game than we think.
But this is the first game where Iowa State's screaming downhill in the back half of the season. So to me, it's big opportunity to get to 6-0 for the first time. And God knows when. I'm sure we'll get some statistics. That was actually really fun, by the way. Aiden and I were doing the research for that tweet.
I think 1938.
Yeah.
1938.
Yeah.
We got to do. Oh man, we're gonna do some digging.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot.
There's gonna be some digging.
So yeah, backstory. We came up with a lot of the information on Chris's tweet. I don't know if you saw that. He's like, we needed info on
No, I didn't see it.
What
happened in 1980.
October 11th of 1980 was the last time.
So
that
we
Iowa
were
State
trying
was
to find
5-0.
like movies that were popular, songs that were popular. The one thing we couldn't find was like someone that was still alive in 1980.
Yeah, like Stonewall Jackson or something like that. Like somebody from like born in like 1884 that was still alive.
But we couldn't find anyone that had, recently.
Anyone of note.
Yeah.
1938 though, is that the last time we've been 6-0? Do you know?
As far as I know, yes.
I think it's
because they
30
started 7-0 that year.
38 or 58, one of the two.
38.
Yeah, 38.
The 38 team. Who could forget?
Yeah, but this is the
Dogs.
I think this is the prove it game though. I think this is, Iowa State's had an easy-ish schedule. And a lot of people said, okay, Iowa State got a good chance to be 5-0 going into this game. This will be the first true test where they could trip up.
I mean, Iowa aside.
I think they prove it. Yeah. I think they prove it though. And I think they prove it in convincing fashion.
I'm excited.
I'm probably too much of a homer saying that, but I think the offense is clicking at the right time. The defense is
It's John Haycock.
John Haycock, man.
All right, I think that's all I got. It's going to be a fun one this week, and don't have to be a dingus.
Go Cyclones! Thank you to all of our loyal listeners who are still listening. And as always, remember, adopt, don't shop.